Grace, my brothers and sisters, and everybody who's watching me, is something that has to be developed. I used to run track. Yes, do not laugh. Yes, I know that I am not the skinniest guy on earth. I'm just not the biggest guy on earth. I'm somewhere in the middle, right? But what I realized was that I ran the big man relays, and everybody who did the discus and the shot put, they would give us a relay race. And one of the first things I had to realize in my relay race is that no matter how big you are, this is still a race and you have to stay in your lane. One of the hardest things that we have to deal with in life is not making an excuse when we get out of our lane. We have to stay in our lane, and we have to learn how to receive and pass the baton. Life is about learning how to release and accept. Hello, my name is Fred Folston. My family called me Freddie in Orlando. But back in '99, I moved to Columbia, South Carolina, after graduating and going to Bethune-Cookman to play football. And I realized that in that moment, God had me on a track and a trajectory that I had no idea of. I'm a big dreamer. I dream a lot. But never in my wildest dreams did I see God processing me so much to embrace his grace. And it's very important that we stop and we realize that we have to embrace his grace. I grew up dealing with a lot of rejection, and little did I know, rejection propelled me. It gave me something to hold on to. Grace, my brothers and sisters, and everybody who's watching me, is something that has to be developed. I used to run track. Yes, do not laugh. Yes, I know that I am not the skinniest guy on earth. I'm just not the biggest guy on earth. I'm somewhere in the middle, right? But what I realized was that I ran the big man relays, and everybody who did the discus and the shot put, they would give us a relay race. And one of the first things I had to realize in my relay race is that no matter how big you are, this is still a race and you have to stay in your lane. One of the hardest things that we have to deal with in life is not making an excuse when we get out of our lane. We have to stay in our lane, and we have to learn how to receive and pass the baton. Life is about learning how to release and accept. And vulnerability has been very hard for me in my life, simply because nobody taught me what vulnerability looks like. Vulnerability and culpability kind of are close cousins, but many of us hold on to vulnerability without understanding the growth that happens when you accept culpability. Vulnerability is when you have let your guards down, and it can be positive or negative, but you are in a place where you are receptive to whether it's constructive criticism or harsh abuse of words. And in most cases, many of us are very receptive in a very weird way to harsh abusive words. But a lot of us never really learned that word culpability in life, where you accept the things that you did wrong and reject what's not your fault. Growing up, I often had to encourage myself because I felt like no one really understood Fred Folston. Nobody really comprehended or grasped what it was about me and my journey in God and my journey in life, my journey as a husband, as a father, or as a pastor and a mentor. Nobody really understood me. But the real problem, and this is why we do Fred Talk, right? The real problem was not them understanding me. It was me understanding me. It was me understanding that God has given me a particular identity. It's like a fingerprint. Everybody has a different one. I recently went to Africa, and while I was in Africa, we were on the safari, and we rode by the zebras. We see zebras in books, we see them on TV, but they look different in person. And the first thing the tour guide said to us was every zebra has an unidentifiable print. Now, this is crazy. Every zebra has a different print. From the nose to the hoof, every zebra has a different print. There is no zebra on earth that has the same stripes. And the stripes is for weather. What? So the Lord gave the zebra something to help him deflect weather, where in the winter, the white would kind of deflect the sun, and then in the summertime, the black would kind of shield it. It's crazy when you study how God does animals, and no zebra is alike. And it's kind of like us. No person is alike. But what we don't realize is that when people are with us and people don't understand our plot in life, and people don't understand our identity in life, they would try to judge us based on what they thought would happen in their life. They judge us based on how they would do things. They judge us based on what their thoughts are about a particular situation. And it's very, very easy to have judgment when you have not been in a situation. Oh, yes. Welcome to Fred Talk, because I want to talk about, in our journey together in Fred Talk, I want to talk about how it is so easy for us to judge people when we've never been in their shoes. It would be easy for a person who's never been an alcoholic to tell a person, don't drink alcohol. How do you know that that person has done their very best to move to the next level? It is very easy to say to a person, hey, I wish that you wouldn't date that person. Well, if that's the only person that's actually feeding their soul and feeding their emotions, you have to find creative ways to find out, why is it that this person is attracted to this person, or this person is attracted to that substance? Because a lot of people look at church people and be like, why are you so attracted to God? It's because they don't realize that you have developed a relationship with God, and God is that answer to the many questions you have in life. Judging something before it's time, judging something without an understanding is so dangerous. And I realize that in our families, we live dangerous lives. Sometimes children don't understand what parents are going through, and they would judge their parents based off the limited knowledge. I remember a story I told about in church and pastoring. Yeah, I told you I'm a pastor, right? I remember literally hearing a story about a girl who all the cousins were in the kitchen, and they were bragging about, how they all cook a certain dish. And one girl, her favorite dish was the ham, and everybody said, oh, your ham tastes just like Big Mama's. Oh, it tastes good. And she was in there, and she was like, yes, I do what Mama do. I get the paper bag, I cut the shank of the ham, I season it, put my pineapples, my honey, my syrup, my brown sugar. I get it just like Mama's. Oh, because me, Mom, make the best ham in the world. And everybody in the kitchen is applauding like, you got that, girl, you got it. And so, they started asking questions about how Mima did her greens and how Mama did the candy yams. You're getting hungry listening to me, aren't you? And they would sit there and say, well, Mama did it this way, and so I do it this way. And so the girl turns around, who was the ham specialist, and she says to Mima, Mima, why is it that you cut the ham? Because it seems like our ham is better than everybody else's. And she was like, it must be because you cut the ham, because we cut our hams and we just put the other side of piece and we just cook that later. And Mima turns around and she's laughing, and all the cousins and nieces and daughters are looking like, why is Mima laughing? And she says, baby, that cut is not making that ham better. I cut the ham because that's the only size pan we had. Huh, you get it? Mima had to deal with the hand she was played. She didn't have the luxury of going and buying the huge aluminum pans. She had a pan the size of the ham, and the ham would not fit unless she cut the ham. And that's many of us. We do things because we saw other people do it. We do things because we saw Mama do it that way. We saw Daddy do it that way. But God has really created you to be your own person. But you really can't be your own person until you find out the truth of why people are the way they are. Fred Talk is literally here to walk you through that journey, that you don't have to live life like other people lived it. You have to live it the way God has chosen you to live it. You got to pray and ask him to be clear with you. Recently, I had one of my assistants in the church. He texted me, and his text was so powerful to me because he is newer to the Christian faith. He's been a Christian all his life, but he's newer to the call. He's newer to ministry. And he said to me, he said, Pastor, the Lord spoke to me within my consciousness and gave me a word for you. That was powerful. He didn't use a whole lot of King James verbiage. He literally used the verbiage he understood. He understands that God talks to him through his consciousness, right? He understood that God spoke to him through his spirit, through his intuition, and gave him a word for me. Now, catch this. The word he gave me was right on time. It spoke to every dream I had this week. It spoke to every friend who spoke to my life. It spoke to other leaders in the church that spoke into my life. He was dead on. But he did not have to do it like other people did it. He did it in his own way. And one of the biggest dangers to being successful in life is trying to be successful based on other people's success. You got to be free from people. You got to be free from what they want your identity to look like. You got to be free from what their opinion of you is, because their opinion don't pay bills. Oh, yes, this is Fred Talk. And I mean, literally, I should do a whole talk on opinions don't pay bills. The opinion writers in the newspaper, while they have an opinion and they can influence other readers, the crux of it is that it still don't change policies. It still don't change the politician. It's just an opinion and it can influence others. But everybody don't read the paper. Everybody don't look at social media. You know, it was very amazing to me the other day before things really started getting out. I was talking to some younger people, and literally I said to them, I said, hey, with the war going on, and their words to me were, what war? And I was like, what do you mean, what war? They was like, we in war? Like, yes, turn your TV on. Turn your social media on. The problem is, our generation, they only want to talk about and deal with things that makes them happy. They don't look at current events. They don't look at things that's going to affect them and their children. You got to be aware. One of the things that I am so convinced about in this season is being aware. I was in a store one night called QT, and the man came in. He had his hands in his pants, and he started yelling, all right. It's going to be bad in here. It's going to be bad in here. I'm telling y'all right now, y'all about to go ahead. Y'all need to go ahead and get out of here. I'm letting you know right now, it's going to be bad. I was at the counter, like literally, I'm aware. I sat all my money on the counter and left her wherever the tip was. And you don't even tip gas station cashiers, but I left my money. While he probably didn't have anything in his pants, the fact that he looked like he was getting ready to harm somebody, I had to be aware. Because why? I had a wife at home. I had children at home. I had members at church. I had friends in my life. I did not need to die because I was trying to be the hero that day. I want to help you right now with this Fred Talk. You don't have to be the hero. You need to be there for yourself. You need to be there for the people you love. You need to be present so that you can be present. Did you get it? You got to be present so you can be present, because your presence is a gift. Your actual perfume in the atmosphere, your smile with the circumstances that you got going on blesses somebody, but you cannot be there if you're not aware. You can't be there if you're not aware. The crux of what we sometimes go through is we are not taught to God validate and self-validate. We're always looking for other people to affirm us and validate us, because that's always how we've seen other people get ahead. I want to tell you that self-affirmation within your prayer time with God and conversations with mentors and people of great wisdom, because safety is in a multitude of counsel, right? Your prayer time with people, with God, and your conversation with people sometimes will give you what you need to self-affirm. But we saw other people who look for the accolades of others, and in our mind, we conceptualize that the only way we're going to make it is by having others to clap for us and to applaud us and to pat us on our back. May I be very honest with you right now that if you live by the applause of people, you would die by their silence. Silence is a killer. Silence will cause you to doubt the very life that you live. Silence will cause you to feel like you have nothing to offer. Silence will cause you to question every person in your life because loudness is what you became accustomed to. Noise is what you became, what it gave you accolades. Feeling people touch you and say, keep going, is what you became used to. And it amused you, and it, in a lack of a better word, you became spoiled by people's compliments. But what happens when someone does not compliment you? What happens when a person does not have the capacity to give you accolades? Because everybody is not in a position to tell you congratulations, especially if you just achieved something they've never been able to achieve in their life. You have to be honest with yourself. Everybody's not going to be happy for you. And even if people are happy for you, they won't be able to tell you they're happy for you. Why? It's not because they're bad people. Everybody is trying to get to the same level. Everybody wants success. Everybody wants growth. Even the people who says, I'm good, still wants more. They just don't know how to conceptualize it or articulate what they want growth in. How does this change my life? How do I become a better person? I know one thing that's helping me right now. Becoming a better person means that you have to divorce the worst version of yourself. Becoming a better person means you have to divorce the worst version of yourself. The worst version of yourself would simply be, I'm putting myself in a position to be hurt again. I'm putting myself in a position to feel inadequate. If a circle, or if a circle is accustomed to highlighting your inadequacies, you cannot continue to surround yourself by those people. I often say, and I heard a great economist say, if you're in a car and there are 5 people in the car and they all broke, you'll be number 6. It would be better to jump out of the car and skin up your skin than to be in the car and have poverty seep into your skin. We have to surround ourselves around people who are already confident. 10s don't usually mess with 5s. 10s mentor 5s to get them to an 8. But 5s never see anything in a 3 that they want, because they've already graduated to another level. I don't know any 10s in my life, but I do know some strong 8s. And those 8s sometimes have proclivities that I don't want. So you have to find people who got an 8 in this area, and people who has a 7 in this area, and people who got a 9 in this area, and take the average sum of all the people in your life, because you are the sum of everybody who's in your life. You're the average of everybody who's in your life. If everybody's broke and everybody's single, you'll be the next broke single. If everybody is grinding and pursuing their dreams, you will be the next person who is a dreamer who will grind. Fred Talk, our purpose, our assignment on earth through Fred Talk is somehow to get this translated to 187 languages around the world, to encourage somebody every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. You got this. Nothing can stop you but you. God is so committed to you winning that he's told every weapon that it can't prosper against you. I don't know who was watching me this morning, but I do want you to know that your victory is in your mouth and your success is in your hands. So you got to use your hands to be successful, and you got to use your mouth to be victorious. This is your time. This is your day. This is your moment. This is your second. This is your season. Don't forfeit it because you don't believe in yourself. God believes in you. I believe in you. I want you to believe in you. This has been your Fred Talk.